today for this evening's talk, which is part of our series Spirit of Auroville. Today we have with us Gilles Guigan. This is his second talk on a special public demand, of course, and we would really like to hear him more on the messages from Mother on Auroville, and he will share with us more. I'll just give it to B so that he can talk a bit more about it, about today's talk, and start. Thank you.
Thank you, Shilpa. Thank you all for coming. There are many events happening in Auroville at this time, and it's nice that you took the time to come here. This series, The Spirit of Auroville, we started a few months ago. Pardon? We started a few months ago because of the situation in Auroville, and we want to get a sense of what is this Spirit of Auroville that the Mother spoke about. Also, in the early writings, she said it's not here yet, but it's coming. So we have, fortunately, Gilles Guigan, who has done so much research over all the years, has put together 2 volumes that include everything Mother said on Auroville from many sources, everything that's available. And he has somehow gone through all of these things, especially now at this time, looking for more the roots of what is the Spirit of Auroville. And there's lots of misconceptions floating around in the community about the galaxy, about the master plan, about all of these things that people claim are from the Mother. So it's very important for all of us that we go back to the original source and we see exactly what the Mother said. And then we can draw our own conclusions from that. So we like this to be a conversation. He's not giving a formal lecture. So at any point you can raise your hand, you can ask him questions for clarifications. And I'm making a special request to Gilles today to speak slowly. Because he speaks very fast. And sometimes it's hard to catch, exactly what he's saying. So we will keep slowing him down. And if you want him to repeat something, you can certainly raise your hand and ask for, some clarification. So please feel relaxed at home. We're all here, in the Spirit of Auroville. We're family, we're friends, and that's the spirit we want to encourage as much as we can. So I just turn it over to Gilles now, and he will tell you how he has shifted also some of his thinking just very recently. So Gilles, if you would start with that, how you...
Yeah, so you see, yesterday evening I was sure that I would speak to you today about the Spirit of Auroville. So I went, yesterday evening I was convinced, I believe I would speak to you today about the Spirit of Auroville. The Spirit of Auroville is something extremely important because it is what is in the atmosphere of Auroville. It's mainly Mother's presence, basically, and that's how it was first spoken about, Mother's presence. But there are many things, and I think most people who have come to Auroville have come because they were so deeply touched by this. But it's not what I'm going to tell you today, because some other topic came to me very strongly, and this morning I said, no, I have to speak of something else, which is, you see, my friend B wrote a book some 20 years ago or 30 years ago on the dawning of Auroville. So what I want to speak to you today is about the dawning of the raison d'être, the reason of being of Auroville. Because it was not at all obvious what the reason of Auroville would be. And I think that this problem, this question, the reason of being of Auroville, is at the center of our disagreements today, at present. Not understanding that this has changed. You see, the first thing one has to say about Auroville is that Mother was totally surrendered to the divine, but she was not operating from the mind at all. You know, I remember seeing a video of Udar, a senior disciple of Mother, and a young French lady was asking him, but why did Mother say this or did that? And Udar said, there is no reason. There is absolutely no reason, because Mother was not rational. It didn't come from the mind. It came only, Mother said, in this life, it's all to the Lord. She does what the Lord tells her. Okay? But it didn't, so at the beginning, she didn't know. You know, Mother was very clear about the aim. The aim is everything that deals with the supramental. It's about bringing further on us and more fully on and everywhere this spiritual reality, this supramental reality. That is what it is about. But how and when, she doesn't know. You see, in 1956, on 29 February 1956, the Mother said there was a first descent, first manifestation of the supramental on the earth. And then 1 year, a little more than 1 year after, on 10th of July 57, she commented to her class, she explained to her class what had happened. She said a new world is born, born, born. It's not the old world which is reforming itself, it's an entirely new world which is born. And she explains, she says to those who are interested in adventure, I invite you to the great adventure. And she says, success is certain, but where we are going, I have no idea. You know, one has to trace a road step by step in the unexplored. And this is what she did together with us in this adventure. Okay? She said, does that interest you? Let's embark, come what may. So she didn't know, she was not sure. She was sure where she wanted to go, but the road, how to go there, she didn't know. And that's why she explained. So, you see, when Mother was president of the Auroville Society, who had the idea to start Auroville, to start a new town. It was not called Auroville at that time, in 64, mid-64, for disciples who wanted to live and work close to Auroville, close to Mother and the ashram, but without having to be accepted as ashramite and without having to abide to all these constraining rules. So this was, the aim of that was very simple. It was very simple. But then early 65, or probably early 65, suddenly she takes up the project and she makes it an extraordinary town, an extraordinary city. You know, there's going to be Olympic Games, there is an international university, there is it's a city-state, which is also free port. I mean, everything you can imagine is there. There is all this cultural pavilion, like in an international exhibition. There is a harbor, there is an international airport where the largest commercial aircraft would land, even the Concorde would land, etc., etc. So she doesn't explain why it has to be so large, because I told you she's not operating rationally. So we don't know why suddenly it has to be so large, but what we know, and it's very important to state it now, is that Mother, Shobendo and Mother were not escaping for earthly life and matter, but divinizing them. So that's very important to understand that. So maybe all this material manifestation was because of that. But Mother doesn't say why is it so big. You know, there are very few cities in the world which have all this. And so it's very, very astonishing. And so this is what's happening in 65. In 66, at one point, her son, André, arrives to her from France, and because of some article in some French magazine, many people want to come to the ashram. And then his mother tells Saprem, this is quite dangerous, you know, because all these people want. So she says maybe that's the reason, the real reason of being of Auroville, you know, to deflect these people and to send them somewhere else. It's in the agenda in 66. Okay, so it's very astonishing. So she says maybe this is the reason of being of Auroville. And so at the end of 66, and that is also very interesting, Mother said she had a kind of revelation. She said the countries of the world have piled out of fear huge quantities of weapons of mass destruction pointed to their rivals. And this creates a very, very dangerous situation because these weapons want to be used, which is normal. And she says that the revelation she had is that if the countries of the world, instead of piling these weapons out of fear, could build something based on truth, Auroville, then a new world conflict could be avoided. So she explained that. And then she says that, the outcome of this, I mean, probably it will save peace, but the outcome of this will be another city like the others. Basically, it's a city built so fast in this way would probably not give birth to any more ideal society. This is what she says to Supreme on the agenda on 21st September 66. So there's one thing interesting about that. I mean, the whole thing is interesting, but this is happening in September 66. And what happened just 1 month later, we don't know if it's October or November 66, it's that there is every second year, there is a world conference, a general conference of UNESCO in Paris. And then there is a first proposition, how do you call that, a first resolution presented by the government of India's delegation, which in favor of Auroville. And it's accepted unanimously. So, 1 month earlier, Mother said it would be good if it would save the world, and then this resolution is accepted by all the countries of the world. Okay, it had no teeth, but still, it is on a certain level, it's very important. Then, in 67, the fact that why does Mother says that it would probably be a city like the others? If Auroville was going to be built very fast. Well, you see, the fact is something that many people don't know, though it was in some earlier compilations on Auroville, is that in 1912, already in May 1912, that is when Mother was still living in Paris, and that is 2 years before meeting with Chauvinot for the first time. So Mother explained, she had a small group of sadaks, of spiritual researchers, who were meeting regularly at her house, and sometimes she was giving them something that she had written for them. So on that day, I think it's 7th May 1912, you find this in Words of Long Ago, she writes, the most important thing to do now is to create an ideal society in a propitious spot. And she says that the aim is human unity, not changed, and that to this end, 2 transformations are necessary. She says there is a transformation of the individuals, which means a progressive identification with the divine presence within, and the transformation of their environment. At that time, she speaks only of social environment, saying so that it becomes more favorable to this individual transformation. Okay? In my view, this applies also to the physical transformation, to the transformation of our physical environment. And she says these 2 transformations have to go on side by side. So in other words, you cannot have a more ideal society if there is not an individual transformation. If we make a progress on the individual level, then both help each other. But she explains it much better than I do. But so she explained these 2 can only go side by side. And then 40 years later, in an article she writes in the Bulletin, I think you said, yeah, the Bulletin. The article is entitled International University Center. She writes again something very, very similar. She writes that the condition in which people live depends on their state of consciousness, and that to want to change the conditions without changing the consciousness is a vain chimera. It won't happen. Okay? And then she says some people say that it should be first the individual transformation. Other people say no, the social transformation first. And then she said no, the 2 have to go side by side. So this is very important. So you cannot have a spiritual Auroville which developed very fast. Actually, I was speaking about this International University Center. You see, there was a very senior sadak in the ashram, a Frenchman, which Chauvinot had named Pavitra. And he was very close to a Czech architect and his wife. He had met them in Japan, And actually, it is through him, through Pavitra, that Antonin Raymond came and built the beautiful guest house, ashram guest house, Gold Corn. So there was a very good relation. They corresponded all their life till the end of Pavitra's life in '69 together. And in one of his letters to Raymond, Pavitra wrote, I believe you must have received by now the brochure on the University Center. And he comments, he says, like all projects of Shrobindo's mother, it will develop slowly from within to without. So this is, you want to go faster, but you can't. Okay. So, and then also in '67, at the end of '67, on 30th December '67, Mother speaks to Saprem about economy and governance of Auroville. And one of the things she says is that we are not making rules that there are now. We are waiting for the underlying truth of the township to emerge and take shape progressively. So this is just 2 months before the inauguration ceremony of Auroville, and she says, we don't know. This thing we don't know. And so that is the end of December '67, and then on 3rd January '68, there is going to be a press conference in Delhi, and Anjali Dayanand, who was one of the disciples, is going there to tell to the press and to the diplomatic corps about the inauguration ceremony, which is going to come. And she asked Mother for a message on Auroville.
Repeat that last part.
So this lady, Anjali Dayanand, who was an IAS officer, but she was very close to Auroville, she asked Mother for a message to give to this press conference in Delhi, where all the press is invited, and also the members of the diplomatic corps, because we wanted them to come for the inauguration ceremony. Okay? So then Mother has this message, which she writes both in English and in French. India has become the symbolic representation of all the difficulties of modern humanity, but India will be the place of its resurrection to a truer and higher life. And then Mother says, and this is why I was made to make Auroville. Because she says, I was made to make it. And she says, I didn't know why there is such a chaos in this country, but it is because of that. It's because the force of transformation will be applied here. And then she explains something that Shrobinda had already spoken about, actually, and she had always spoken about. It is that the earth is a symbolic representation of the universe. Shrobinda says, if you touch something on earth, you touch something on the universe, in the universe. And she says, so India, the earth is a chosen planet in the entire universe. She explained that several times. And then she says, India is a chosen country on the world. And she says, she implies that Auroville is a chosen place for this transformation to take place. Actually, Shrobinda had already explained certain thing about the ashram. So you see, basically what it is that Shrobinda and Mother wanted the ashram, and then Auroville, or Shrobinda was not there for Auroville, to host all kinds of human types. And so in order to have here a symbolic representation of humanity, Shrobinda explained if in the ashram there was only sattvic types, then the vital will not be transformed, and then it means the transformation of humanity probably will not take place. Shrobinda also explained about the ashram that if one particular, or representative of one particular human type can transform himself, then this will apply to entire human type. So this is what Mother is speaking about Auroville, basically. And I have a whole compilation of Shrobinda and Mother on this topic, explaining this. It is something that is, I forget just now, but there is something which scientists now recognize about. It's not the story of the 100 monkey, but it's something a little similar to that.
Quantum entanglement and things.
Yeah, epigenetism, I think. Something called epigenetism, genetics. Yeah. So this is the idea to invite. Shrobinda says it has a different meaning. His yoga has a different thing than most other yogas. It is about this transformation of humanity, transformation of the world. It's just not about your own individual salvation. So that's very important. Oh, so blessing. Blessings. So that's something very, very important. And so then in this conversation on 3rd February 68, she says, for some time for some years I thought Auroville was to prevent a new world conflict, but this is superficial, it's not that. She says it is this. Okay? So then there is something else. In 71, so this was 68, and in 71, Sadprem reads to Mother his new book, his latest book, which is On the Way to Superman Buddha. And when it comes to then in his book he had quoted a letter from Dilip Kumar Roy to Sri Aurobindo. Dilip Kumar Roy is probably the person who corresponded the most with Sri Aurobindo. I think they exchanged 4,000 letters, something like that. And he was a musician. And Dilip Kumar Roy found Sri Aurobindo so extraordinary, his teaching so extraordinary, that he told him we should advertise and do some propaganda. And Sri Aurobindo wrote back to say that patent advertisement and propaganda is good also only for books and patent medicines, but for his kind of work it is total poison. Poison. That I can read you exactly. I think I should read you because it's very interesting. I took this to remember. Sri Aurobindo wrote that is in 1934. I don't believe in advertisement except for books, etc., and in propaganda except for politics and patent medicines. But for serious work, it is a poison. It means either a stunt or a boon, and stunts and boons exhaust the thing they carry on their crest and leave it lifeless and broken, high and dry on the shores of nowhere. Or it means a movement. A movement in the case of a work like mine means the founding of a school or a sect or some other damn nonsense. It means that hundreds of thousands of useless people join in and corrupt work and reduce it to a pompous farce from which the truth that was coming down recedes into secrecy and silence. It is what has happened to religion, and it is the reason of their failure. Okay? So Mother is very strong about this to Sadprem, and then she tells him, this passage should be typed and put in Auroville. It is indispensable. They all have a false idea about propaganda and publicity. It should be typed in big letters. On the top, Sri Aurobindo said, then put the quotation and send it to Auroville. Say, I am the one who sends it. So this is very, very important. This passage should be typed and put up in Auroville. It is indispensable. They all have a false idea about propaganda and publicity. It should be typed in big letters at the top, Sri Aurobindo said, and then put the quotation and send it to Auroville. Say, I am the one who's sending it. Okay? So the more, you see, even if we don't do anything about it, bloggers do it, and all kinds of people do it, okay? Advertise. So, in fact, at that time, the few Aurovillians who were living there in 71 had no means, material means, to do propaganda and publicity. The two who were doing that, I guess to try and get money for Auroville, were Navajata and Roger. And actually, in the archives, I found a paper, type paper, which says that Roger told Tona Prima, who was Mother's granddaughter, who was his ex-wife, to tell Mother that it was very unfortunate that she was making this public at this time, because precisely that's what they were doing. This is true. But you can see that. You know? So this is very clear. You know. So actually, to come back to the idea to build an Auroville very fast. What Mother was explaining, basically, this huge Auroville with so much money and so much things, it is without, there are two things which are not in favor of that. Mother said it will be a city like the others, which is what she says, it's in the agenda. But it is due to two things. First of all, that it has to come from within to without, and that requires time. And the second thing is that publicity, propaganda, is going to result in something stupid, something nobody is interested in. So that's very interesting. So now I can repeat what I did in my last talk. I mean, what time is it? We still have time?
We have time.
Okay. It is that I understand that considering this, Mother set the stage. Yeah, so, okay. 1st February 72.
Wait 1 second, the sound is a little bit...
Yeah. Okay.
You can use the other mic.
No, so one is corner, there are two mics. One is corner.
This is off.
Okay.
Off.
One is corner.
That
One is corner, you have to do mics. It's okay, try. Now you can try.
Yeah, I can see, I can try like this. It's okay?
I think it's okay now.
So I forget to mention a very interesting quote. It's a letter which Mother sent to UNESCO on 1st February 1972. In it she wrote very clearly, the Auroville is meant to hasten the advent of the supramental reality upon Earth. This is the first sentence. So this is very clear. Auroville is meant to hasten the supramental reality upon Earth. So linked with what she said in '68 about, this link between India, between universe, the Earth, India, and the disciples. In my view, Mother set the stage in Auroville for Auroville to be able to play this role. So the first thing she did is to invite these people interested to the adventure, who don't mind not knowing where they are going exactly. So in order to have here a symbolic representation of humanity's diversity. Okay? The second thing she did is to put us under intense pressure to transform ourselves. And in order to do that, she gave us these two amazing, extremely ambitious aims: an effective humanity and peace upon earth. She explains that peace upon earth will come through humanity, meaning that unless we have developed a feeling of humanity, we can forget about peace upon earth. Now, what does it mean, humanity? It's surely better to hug than punch each other, but it doesn't do it at all. Doesn't do it at all. It means that we have to identify with the divine presence within ourselves. I mean, to take it first, in the text To Be a Aurovilian, Mother says the first step is the inner discovery. So we have to start by the inner discovery, realizing who we truly are, etc., what is our place on earth. Then identify progressively with the divine presence within ourselves, and then become the willing servitor of the divine consciousness. So you see, I think that it's a bit like in insurance contract. Nobody read the small character. So it means we have to become yogis, because that's what it is. Because actually, there is only one way to achieve humanity, is to be one in the divine. There's no other way, absolutely no other way. So this is the aim. Now, this aim has never been achieved, has been achieved by yogis, yes, individual yogis. It has been achieved to the various levels. But it has never been achieved, to my knowledge, by a collectivity. And this is what we are supposed to do here. So don't expect that we'll be able to achieve this very soon. Mother speaks of 100 years, But yet humanity can be transformed through our change. And this is happening since the beginning of our life. And so this is to put us under tremendous pressure. And then, because this task is so extremely difficult to achieve, she wants to help us by asking her to transform our environment, which is both social and physical, so that they become more favorable to our individual transformation. And that is very, very clear. And that this transformation have to take place side by side. We all would want that it happens faster, but it won't. So you see, in terms of social transformation, the three main pillars are education, economy, and organization governance. I remember Kiribai hammering this on me. At that time, I was saying, Kiribai, we are doing what we can. He kept telling me, no, you are finding excuses, etc. Still there, completely engraved in my soul. So, but you see the problem when you speak about, so education has to be integral and unending. But you see, unless even if we get a very good teacher, who can tell you all these things, unless the teacher, the parents, the whole society does this, kids and ourselves will say, come on, forget it. It's not true, it doesn't work. So for a better education, you cannot have a truly better, we can do things, absolutely, but you cannot have a really very different education unless we change consciousness. For the economy, it's the same. As long as it is mine and it won't work. We can do things to make small steps, this side and that side, because that's what Mother expected, that we do small steps. But you cannot have a total transformation. You see also, what I find about the economic transformation is the following, because Mother says basically the economy will be based on the communist ideal, but taking into consideration people's inner reality, which is very important. Because you see, communism has been a total fiasco, because it has not been able to take into account the inner reality of people, because only yogis can do that. And so, I believe, so you see there is no, so communism is based on three things: no private property, from everyone according to his needs, from everyone according to his possibilities, to everyone according to his needs. Now, who can say what every one of us, what are the possibilities and needs of each other? This is a beautiful ideal, but as long as we don't have the consciousness for that, it doesn't work. I remember, and so probably some of our friends here remember that Kiribai told us that when he was a registrar of the Center of Education at the ashram, he was meeting Mother every Sunday morning, and that one day he reported to her, as usual, about what he has done and where he has put the money, etc. And he said, look, Mother, I had this money, I did like this, basically almost the same for everybody. But I must tell you, there was a kid who wanted photographic equipment. At that time, it was a chamber to develop a photo, etc. It was everything, quite costly. And Kiribai said, well, I said no, because it was only one child, and I wanted to do more for everybody. And Mother told him, in this particular case, you should have realized that this is a basic need for this kid, as important as food, clothing, etc. You should have given it to him. So you see, for this system,
we got it.
Huh?
We got the money.
You got the money for the graphic money. He was teaching in this school, so it is very important because you see. So for this to happen, there has to be some people who can know your needs. But if these people understand your needs but don't have the money, it won't help you. But it's not the other thing, because if you get the new motorbike this year, because everybody will rise and say, no, I should have it. No. So as long as we are in the consciousness in which we are, it won't happen. So it needs a change of consciousness for all this to work better. And also for economy, I want to say something which is very important to me. It is basically, you see, humanity has to change paradigm. At present, humanity is more and more in a paradigm of having. You don't have your Rolls Royce waiting for you, you don't have a Rolex, you are losers, my friend, I'm sorry to tell you. So Sri Aurobindo explained that the three things which have the highest attraction for the vital are sex, power, money. and you can see that the people who have the most of that are very happy to cheat to have more. And I can hear Mick Jagger singing, I can't get no satisfaction, because there is no satisfaction in this. You want always more. And so we have to switch from, and also this is the paradigm of having is a paradigm of frustration, competition, and it's a very bad paradigm, all the ills that are there. But we have to switch to a paradigm of having. Because if you can be your beautiful self, you're not casting any shadow on me because I don't have your talents. I hope I have some other talents, but I don't have. The only thing that I can do is you are encouraged by shining, by bringing your beautiful qualities, being able to express yourself is encouraging me to try and express myself. So in my view, that is the whole about, that is what has to change in Auroville. That's why there is no private property, etc. It is very, very important.
But of course, in divine unity, your talents are mine, and my talents are yours.
Yeah, but they're all different, I'm not a musician, I'm not an artist, etc.
But we can both benefit from it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So it is very important to understand that. So it is to invest in helping people in education, basically. It is to help people to realize their true self, but not in satisfaction of their ego. It is to manifest their talents for the benefit of the whole. So there can be this one. So that's the thing. So also the need to change and to transform our physical environment, it is basically to make it more favorable to our individual and our social transformation. You see, if we build something which requires a lot of money that we need to earn to build or maintain, this is stupid. We have better things to do. One of the things Mother said about Auroville, she said, I think it's also 30th December 1967, she says it's a place for research, studies, experiment, into a place where the higher qualities will have more time to develop. So instead of having more time to have time to develop your higher qualities, this is very, very important. Okay. So there are more things in this thing. You see, for example, Matrimonial. Matrimonial, she wanted to have Matrimonial because she told Roger Angers, her architect, build Matrimonial, put my symbol on the floor, put the 4 symbols of Auroville, put the crystal globe, and I take it on myself to make it a very powerful center. And she added, but only those who are receptive enough will perceive it. So also one of the most interesting messages she wrote about Matrimonial, it is that Matrimonial is a symbol of Auroville's aspiration for the divine, or for a higher consciousness, I don't remember. And she also said in the first aspiration talk, or one of the first, with a small group of people who were living in aspiration at that time, that Matrimonial is the central force, the force of cohesion of Auroville. And why is this? Because if it is indeed, which I think it is, representing our highest aspiration, well, if what matters most to us, to all of us, is this aspiration for a higher consciousness, all the other details are not very important, So that's why I think she said the central force and the force of cohesion of Auroville. If we all focus on our aspiration for higher consciousness, it's things like that. So there are other things, like the communication with the outside world, with people who are not in Auroville, with all these tourists, guests, and workers, etc. She said many things. And the communication through the media. So that pertains very much to the letter from Auroville to Philippe Kumar Roy, because we do, and bloggers, etc., advertise Auroville a lot, which is damageable. Yeah. So, I don't know anymore. You have questions?
Anybody want
Can
to
you
ask?
repeat the last sentence?
Come on. No, I said that one of the things was the relation with communicating Auroville. We have to, so communicating Auroville. You see, once somebody asked Mother, but Mother, we have to inform people about Auroville, isn't it? And she said, yes, of course. And then this person asked, but what difference do you mean do you make between informing and publicizing? She said two things. The first thing I think we have all experienced. We should speak about Auroville only in milieu, not in milieu which can understand. I think we have all realized in our own family, in our own friends, some of our own friends, we are wasting our time. Some people are just not interested. Don't waste your time. So we should speak in milieu, in people. You don't put in main newspapers, for example. We can write in specialized newspaper, but not in main newspapers about Auroville. The second thing she said, it is that you should keep the message at its true level. If you are lowering the level with the idea of making it more understandable to people, then you are making advertisement. And she says it is the comprehension that makes the selection. You know, depending on what you put in the visitor center, some people are going to be very interested by things which are not important at all, and the contrary. So depending on what you are speaking about, if you are speaking about what Auroville is for, it is this manifestation of a new consciousness, etc., some people are going to be very interested. Other people might be attracted by things which are not very important for wrong reasons. Okay. So, yes?
I'm not sure I understood. Did you say 100 years as far as how long it would take to evolve?
Oh, you see, no, Mother spoke of, you see, Shrobindo spoke about 300 years for the supramental manifestation, you know. And Mother about Auroville, she says it's sure to happen. But how much it will take, 100 years, 200 years, I don't know. She spoke of 300,000 years, you know, she said. It's something that is bound to happen. How fast it will happen? There are different things that she said. I can give you a collection. I made a compilation of these things. But we live in eternity anyway, so it's bound to happen. No, it's true, it's true. I think if Mother had told us, you know, and told people who came at the beginning of Auroville that the city will be what it is now, they would say no. So she tricked us, but we are all happy to have been tricked, I think.
But didn't she tell Roger at that meeting, she wanted it done in 5 years, and he said, no, Mother, that's impossible, give me 10 years. And she said, okay, you have 10 years.
No.
That was that meeting, Pashi Kapoor, he said, that's what Mother said.
Well, it's not true. I can tell you exactly. Okay, no, it's very clear, very, very clear. So, you see, it's March 65, Mother wrote to Roger to tell him that she had a city to build, not to plan, to build. It's amazing, she said to build. And if you want, she offered him to build it, basically. And then he said yes, etc. Okay. Then he came for his, so what happened after is that Mother, on 23rd June 65, Mother described her town to Saint-Prêtre. And I'm convinced that she described it to Saint-Prêtre because she knew Saint-Prêtre would transcribe it in French, and she could ask him a copy, a transcript of that letter, of that talk, to send it to Roger. Anyway, what happened is that in September 65, Roger came with the first report on Auroville. Yeah. The important thing is that when Mother described her town to Saint-Prêtre in June 65, she doesn't say for how many people it is.
She doesn't say.
For how many people it has to be built. So it doesn't seem to be important. Okay? And so that's what he said. Now, the drawing that Mother made in front of Saint-Prêtre, it's a big circle, I mean with 4 petals, but it touches the sea and it touches Usulu Lake. So that means it has a 10-kilometer diameter. Mind you, there's no green belt at that time, so it's huge. It's absolutely huge. It is 4 times the diameter of the city now, which means 16. 16 times larger. Okay? So Roger, in his report in September 65, says that in 20 years, in 10 years there will be 5,000 people, in 20 years there will be, anyway, he says there will be that in 20 years there will be 50,000 people, in 30 years there will be 100,000, and even more after. Okay, this is, I have the paper typed by Roger, and with some cases, Mother's comment. Okay? And then, in December 65, Gilbert Gaucher had asked Mother, with her approval, to answer a questionnaire to make people help themselves. And so this questionnaire, he asked a number of questions, and in some cases he put suggested answers. You know, because you have Mother, you know. And then Mother sometimes modify answers or write something. So Gilbert Gaucher, who was a close associate of Roger, writes, the city will reach 50,000 progressively. Okay, so this is what has happened. There is no transition before. This is what happened in 65. You know, Roger is the first visit of Roger when he comes. First visit. So Roger thought of 100,000 and more, and I understand because Mother told such a big thing, you know. And Mother told him, just plan for 50,000. This is what has happened. Okay. Now, interestingly, in 1996, Roger gave an interview to Luigi Ariemani on the whole story, you know, on his involvement. And in this interview, he says exactly the opposite, I think. He says he was ready to do it for 10, 20,000, but Mother told him to do it 50,000. So Mother reduced his thing, but he remembered that she increased it. You understand?
Yeah, so there's a contradiction there.
There's a contradiction, but Roger's memory was poor at that time. You know, it's 96, he was 73 already. Huh? Yeah. So he didn't remember well. It's absolutely fine. I also forget a lot of things. So that's absolutely fine. I'm just saying, look, the fact is that it was like that. And all the documents are here, it's absolutely obvious. There's no argument on that. There cannot be any argument on that.
And what about the galaxy thing now, that everybody talks about?
You all really need to go on slippery things. No, it's a complicated thing. I mean, I'm going to pose something on that. You see, the first thing is that Shobendra and Mother both wrote that the reason why the ashram developed so well is because there was never any preconceived mental plan. There was never any preconceived mental plan. And Mother said the same thing when Shobendra handed her the ashram, etc. She said there was no plan, and it developed like a tree, like a forest, organically. You know? So it is, so also, anyway, I have a whole compilation which I will post to wherever.
We're going to print that and use the notes?
There's too many pages.
Oh.
You see, you cannot deal with this topic in 2-3 pages, you know, because I have to explain everything, what Mother said about it. You see, the only known comment of Mother about the galaxy, it's Roger says it, it's in his interview with Luigi and Ariemani. He says it's a nebulous shape which is found in the cosmos. You know, that's what she says. There is no other comment of Mother. I mean, some other comments you read in my paper is to Rijuta. Rijuta, who was an American lady, and she was Mother's secretary for Aureville's affairs. It is with her that Mother translated the charter in English. And in 70, Mother said that she had an amazing experience with a lady, that suddenly she saw a psychic being coming out. And that was with Rijuta. So Mother says thing, writes thing, but I prefer you read it. I have what she writes. So it's interesting. But anyway, that's one has to see the whole thing. Anyway, you read it. No, because you have to read the whole thing.
Yeah.
But yeah. But the main thing is that the purpose of this transformation of this physical environment is to make it more favorable to our individual transformation. This is the very purpose of it. So for me, it's very important that we are able to have a kind of campus for Auroville, where we can protect our own social environment and also our physical environment. Because as long as we don't have that, it doesn't create an atmosphere very propitious for our individual development. We have to have some relation with people, that is of course, but it has to be controlled.
But the pressures that we're facing today, do you think those pressures are there to actually force us to do that?
To do what?
To create an environment that will change us.
Yeah, I mean, you see, what I find, the very positive thing I find in this crisis is that a lot of people are interested to find out about Auroville. What is it really? They didn't care before. So this is a very, very favorable thing, and really favorable thing. The rest, let's see. But I find that, you see, I'm trying to compile a document, which will be like a small booklet, to explain what I have understood of Mother's intentions for Auroville. Auroville is something called an intentional community. You know, it has created with a particular intention, and Mother has given this intention. The problem is, tell me if you know about a book about that. I have not found any. I have not found any. I have compiled this everything that I could find of Mother's words in Auroville, and I'm improving it. I'm doing the French version now, but it's not because you read that you understand it. You know, it has to be because that's not. You see, my problem is that I'm an engineer. I'm a very rational mind. I have a very rational mind, and Mother was not operating like that. But you see also the very big difference that there is between Schrobendo's books and Mother's books. It's a very interesting difference. Schrobendo's books are mostly treatises, you know, where he deals with the topic in a very properly ordered. You know, there are a few books like the evening talks and the talks with Schrobindo, which are conversations where they jump from one topic to the other, etc. But with Mother's books, it's completely different. These are conversations, either with her class, question and answer, or with subprem. These are conversations and speak about one thing one day, another thing another day, etc. These are conversations and conversation with people who are supposed to know. You know, not with somebody who doesn't know anything and suddenly jump in something. Yeah. So it is difficult to understand, and because it's not, Mother didn't speak about it rationally. And it's much better. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying, look, this is why it's difficult. She didn't say don't. On the contrary, it keeps on evolving. And it has. You see, also, Mother was very against, warned us about dogmas. You see, in the agenda somewhere she writes, what I'm afraid of about Auroville is that about the creation of Auroville is that people will make dogmas. In the Gazette Aurovillienne, you find that she says one day people will say, Mother said this, Mother did that, said that, and that's how dogmas are created. One of the message of Mother which was exhibited under the banyan tree on the inauguration day was Auroville at last a place where nothing will be able to post itself as unique truth, you know, something like that. So no, it's never like that. Never. No.
Would anybody like to ask anything? We can wind up.
And have a good channel.
I was wondering if you can do a third talk, because it's 6, I think if I'm going to ask something, sort of might open whole new blocks.
No, I'm happy to do another one.
Because I would like to hear something about what is said about governance of Auroville, and
Okay.
everything that comes around our ears now about democracy, no democracy, centralized people, whatever.
Well, Mother
Where
was
we are, where
Mother,
we go, or, you know, like,
Yeah.
sort of, where are we?
Mother wanted decisions to be taken by the highest consciousness available. Okay? So our problem today is that either these people don't exist, or they don't stick out, or we are too blind to recognize them. But you can't make them come out like
So
that.
let's suppose they are there.
Yeah.
So what about democracy? Which is now.
No,
So
the-
democracy is over, so what do we?
No, the democracy has always been over. Mother never wanted democracy.
I know.
So, you
Did
see,
you say something about this gray in between worlds?
no, because it depends on our consciousness. You see, this is a problem all the time. She spoke at one time, you see, in '66, she spoke about a committee of experts or something like that. Then she spoke about intuitive intelligence, saying that intuitive is more important than intelligent, but she doesn't say how to apply them, how to distinguish them.
There's nothing you can sort of, I know, to.
It's, I'm telling you, this is the problem is change consciousness, and then things will become possible. You want a better education, a better governance, a better economy? Change consciousness. I mean, there are small steps that we can do. We are trying, actually. The way we are appointing our committees is an attempt to do that. But, you know, it's difficult. We should be able to do more. You see, I think that the first thing to do is that people have to, I think, you see, if you ask people, tell me what is Auroville about, there are not many people who can explain to you mentally what it is about. You know? I don't know if I said this already. Mother said that Schrobenhauer's poem, Savitri, is best understood by the soul. I think most of us feel the same about Auroville. Auroville is best understood by the soul. So we can put words, but actually, you know, many people have not read Schrobenhauer's Mother, now some of them are very glorious, because they are in tune with the spirit. And some are not. And even some people who have read, no. They are stuck in their mind about something. So it's all about change of consciousness. And we are in the soup till we can. That's all. But we can do better, yes, we can do better. But the first thing is to better understand. To better understand what it's all about. You see, I think in the first aspiration talk, when Mother was speaking to some residents of aspiration in 1970, Mother told them you should first come together and about what you want to do. You know, together. The first thing is to know what you want to do. How do you want to go about it? And this has to keep evolving. You know, it's not. We can review the whole thing.
And those first few minutes, I don't know if you talked about when she first had the idea for Auroville, and also was there not a discussion for sure before he passed away, that about the street? Was there anything from him?
You see, so if you, I mean, in my book, in the background, in my compilation, you will see there are many things of Auroville about an ideal society, etc. There are many things. Now, Mother said that this formation of a town had come repeatedly to her. She said, first when she was very young, maybe 5, 6 years old. She said then when she was with Théon, her teacher of occultism, that is in 1905, 1906, she said this came to her. She doesn't speak, she doesn't explain it. Then in 1938, when Antonin Raymond, the architect of Golconde, was here, designing Golconde and launching its construction, she asked him to design for her a new town, which would have been for the ashram. And then there was a possibility to do it in Hyderabad State, etc. It didn't happen. Then in the mid-50s, there was another possibility. She said one of our friends, though a missionary, I like the way she formulated, wants to transfer, to sell basically some land which they have by the lake, by Auroville Lake, to the ashram. And then she says there is an American cineast, his name is Alexander Marquet, who wants to create a school, come studio of cinema and television. And then she says there is Louis Allen from Lake Estate who wants to start a school of agriculture. Then there is Sonny, I think was his name, he wants to put an airfield, you know, to take off with this little plane. Then somebody wants to do ceramics. So all this was going to be under the Schrobenhauer International Center of Education. And this was, the name of this project was New Horizon, which is very interesting, and I can tell you more about that. This didn't work. So in 1960, I have the catalogue of everything about it. In 1960s, Saprem speaks to her about this project and tells her so it's abandoned. Mother said, no, it will come out in some other way. You know? And so it's in 1964 that Navajata, who was the General Secretary of the Society, they had organized in mid-August the first World Conference where 400 delegates from the various centers had come, and they wanted to, they felt the need to be able to have a house or apartment somewhere near the ashram and mother to be able to do their yoga in their own way. And that it is in answer to that Yamajata proposed this part of the revolution. And at first, mother was not interested. You can see that. If you read the agenda, in 64, Auroville 64, she speaks after this resolution has been passed. She tells that Premor, there is all these groups who have their meeting in Pondicherry, they're all saying nonsense, give me headache. So she was not interested in that. It took her some time to decide to take it up. So it's early 65 that she took it up. You see, ideas and human and material resources came to Mother naturally. It came by different people. You see, for example, I'll give you another example which is very interesting. You know that the Dream, the famous text, The Dream, was written by Mother and published in the Bulletin in August 54. In the papers of Mother, in my compilation, you will see that in July 54, Mother had written a letter to the employees of Sri Aurobindo Ashram because she had some labor problem that you can find also in the books of Mother. She had some labor problems, so she writes to them in July 54 to the employees of Sri Aurobindo Ashram, and she writes about a labor colony, which later she speaks about Auroville. And she writes that all this that she wants to do, and I think that she realized that why not do it for, you know, like, you know, these things for workers, she says to do it for other people. So it came like that. So what I want to say is that things came naturally to Mother. It means ideas, human and material resources that came to her. I remember speaking, you know, my friend Richard Pearson from the ashram. We call him Flower Richard. He was so much in flowers. So he was one of the two Richard, because the other one was Richard Eckenberger, who together brought flowers to Mother, to Tara, who was presenting them to Mother, so that she gave them name. And I said, ask Richard, but how did this flower come? He said, I don't know. It just came. People heard that Mother was interested, so flowers came from everywhere. You know? So things came naturally to Mother. If she has a city to build, the architect will come, everybody will come. Things come. Because it's all part of the divine plan. And all the people come here, coming from this plan. So yeah. There is no... Mother will tell you, she's just... See, I remember probably the last video interview of Gilles Guigan. Gilles Guigan said Mother was a servant of servants. He said, Mother was never happier than when you wanted to offer her something. You know? And then she wanted to help you to make your gift. You know? She just wanted to help. So it is feeling, you have an idea, you want to make an offering, come on, I'll help you. Mother received, Mother was she is completely transparent. But she knew where she wanted to go, but she had an amazing discrimination. You see, I always say that for me, I think most of us consider that Aurobindo and Mother were avatars. And their main endeavor in this life was to pull down in the terrestrial atmosphere the supramental consciousness, you know? And then once this happened, the first manifestation took place in 56, it had to be wider and deeper. And what she tried to do is always about that. So she knew what she wanted to do. Now how to do it better? She was looking for, you know, she was always ready to modify her what she wanted to do according to, depending on the new possibilities, needs and constraints. As I told you about the project of Auroville in 56, she says, we can't do it like this, it will come otherwise. You know, so she was totally plastic. You see, one of the things that Mother told Saprem on 23rd June 65 when she described the town to him, she said, and as for the manifesting the city, it will depend on Roger's plasticity. So I looked I have all these books that show me about Mother in my computer, and I just typed flexibility, plasticity, flexible, plastic. I knew that she was saying that often, but I never imagined that it was absolutely everywhere. Absolutely everywhere. You have to be plastic, plastic, plastic. Be clear where you have to go in, but you know, you want to go this way, it's actually that way. This door is closed, we never open, but this one is wide open. So it's very, very interesting. You see, one last thing. I started my collection of Message of Mother because I was curious and I wanted to understand. I thought that there are certain things which will be still valid in 100 years, 200 years, and there are certain things which the next day you can see she says something different to somebody else. So I became much more interested, actually, not by her words, but how she operated. And that is very, very interesting. Because actually we have to try to do the same to be able to be the transmitter.
But you're saying something else to someone else it's not actually something else that she's saying, it's just adapted to someone else.
In some cases, in other cases, no, absolutely, I absolutely agree with you. You see, I find, for example, that about Auroville, she said certain things to Sartre, to Roger, to Huda, and to some other people. So I find that certain things she told to Huda, which I believe she must have told them, when she says that in the Gardens of Matrimonial there will be a big Shiva statue with water flowing from his hair, etc. Or where she tells Huda that in Matrimonial there will be a chamber for her Lord and a chamber for her. I don't think she told that to Roger. You know? So, because it's not the kind of thing she will tell Roger. I think that with Sartre she was a bit careful because she knew he could, he could jump. And I find that what she was telling to Rijuta was not part of the thing. She was just a disciple. She was not involved in Auroville. It was more what she felt. But it's very right. I mean, I love it. You see, I think everybody will have it. I mean, I've been working on that for 38 years. So it's completely crazy, but I'm passionate about it.